Yay! Well, I've just been told by the queue that the fun is about to start. So I'll have a nap while you all make jokes at each other. Seriously, welcome everybody to this week's Inworld Review. Apologies if we're about 15 minutes late, if any of you are about to follow the link to YouTube. Well, we're still here, we're just late, aren't we? And the replay will be as usual. Okay, my name is Mal Burns, and this show's called the Inworld Review. The idea is that we look at people, places, and arts on the Hypergrid. And the Hypergrid, for those of you who don't know, is a medium that connects, it networks together all virtual worlds that are actually authored using the Open Simulator software. If you wonder what Open Simulator is, it's a bit like the old Second Life platform you may remember, but it's all open source and it interconnects. So you're not in a walled garden. You can teleport wherever you want, unless the destination has decided they don't want you or don't want anybody, and they can actually lock you out. But that's the minority, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of places to choose. So we have we feature everything to do with the Hypergrid on this program, and today we're actually doing something slightly different. So we've still got a bit of the usual stuff here, but we're going to be looking at Blender. Now, Blender is not something in OpenSim, but it is a piece of software that, for one thing, is free. And it does allow you to create things that you will import into OpenSim. And indeed, you can export things from OpenSim into Blender to publish elsewhere. As I said, the software is free, but one of the things that makes it really attractive to people who are on OpenSim, as opposed to a walled garden, like, as I said, the Second Life, is that if you import stuff into Second Life, you're paying a small fortune to do so. Whereas in OpenSim, it's completely free. It's in your inventory as you import it, and you can dump it on the ground wherever you want, within reason, or wear it, or all sorts of things, really. Also, Blender has some fascinating tools as far as video is concerned as well. So I'm going to introduce you to the folks we've got here today to talk about all this. First of all, I think all of us here, except me, actually have some experience with Blender, which is why I've cultured the group as it is. Firstly, my right-hand man, of course, the wonderful James Atlloud, who is sitting and about to have an encounter with his various knobs. Welcome, James. Welcome, James.
All right, thank you, Mal. They're all in good stead. All the knobs are
They're all in good stead. Okay, so just keep twiddling the knobs. Yeah, indeed. Okay, and my other wonderful co-host, none other than Tosha Tyran. Welcome, Tosha.
Hi, thanks for the welcome. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. And also joining us on the couch are two old friends, really. She's been here recently, in fact, and that is a Pet Love Pet Shop, who used to film for us too. So welcome, Pet.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Pet has some experiences. The common thing here actually is that James and Pet particularly are like beginners with Blender, so they are very well aware of the obstacles and the daunting interface, should I say. And lastly, but not least, we have Marcus Llewellyn, who I realized he was using Blender first, I think, when he was using it for video, which I thought, video in Blender, you know, what's that? But he reckons he knows Blender. Definitely, he lives in Blender or something. So welcome to Marcus Llewellyn. Welcome, Marcus.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm very surprised to be here.
Yeah, it was a bit of a last minute pull in. I suddenly thought, well, hang on, Marcus knows Blender. I'm sure he does.
Well, I'm very happy to be.
So we pulled you in, indeed. Okay, now before we actually get on to that, we're going to just do our normal sort of thing that we do at the beginning of the show. Safari Roundup this week. I'll just run quickly to the slides on Thursday's blogs. Into the Light. This was one of the stops, and both James and Tosha were definitely on this too, so they might have some comments. These are just the pictures that Thursday has posted from those visits. Into the Light, I'm trying to remember, this is the first, no, this was the second stop, so it wasn't nearly as laggy as the first stop. Some interesting, I don't know what that is, very pretty, I'm sure. These are regulars hanging around there, I think, and Yeah. I don't know. That dog looks a bit menacing, actually, but never mind.
Oh, I think it looks lovely.
Yeah, well, all
That
dogs are
dog.
lovely, but even if they are menacing.
Oh.
There's a chap again, yeah. It looks like this is almost a person show this week at this grid. Nice name for a grid, actually, Into the Light, I must say. Did you two enjoy it, James and Tosha? Did you find it?
Well, I did not go.
Oh.
I was so frustrated by the first stop, and I could not move, and I could not see anything. And I tried to fiddle on the PC, and I tried to fiddle on the program on Firestorm, and nothing helped. And when I stopped fiddling, when I got finished fiddling, well, the second stop was over.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was. I do remember that actually. The second stop really wasn't too bad, but I mean, when you're constantly lagging and thinking you're going to crash and stuff, it's easy to get disheartened to think, "Oh, I'll leave it to next week."
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I tried 3 different grid accounts to visit the region.
Oh.
Finally, the third one stuck, and but I was sinking through the ground. I couldn't get it through doors, and but then I enjoyed it. I enjoyed touring through the gallery, and then there's a mountain gallery that was just wonderful. Yeah, there it is on the screen right now. That was great. Especially the reflection on the floor, which is, no PBR, and it's a great trick.
I probably won't share this week. I've got a little thing. I picked up a video of PBR in the other place. In fact, telling us more about that. Actually, while I've got it, I noticed somebody's in an interesting costume here.
That's because of the grid I chose. That's my Safari
grid. But actually, when I was filming, you were absolutely fine. Eventually.
Yeah, the third one. The third one's a charm. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a quick little bit I did at the end because I'd already filmed the region, and then I came back down to Earth and Safari, and so that's James. Yes, it is James. Gosh golly. But anyway, we'll leave that for another day. Right, what was the there's one cartoon that's nothing to do with us whatsoever, but appropriately quite like that one. Like me Pussycats. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, now the second stop. No, sorry, the first stop. This is actually the one that we did have the lag problem with. I think, is that right? This one?
No, just the opposite for me.
No, Mayatel. This was the second one, wasn't it?
It was wonderful.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So everything was fine here. Oh yes, and I did quite a lot of filming of this. It didn't really occur to me to actually go and stand on the bloody volcano, but there you are. I went everywhere else. Yeah. And I got stuck on that. Well, that's probably not me, but
that's where you got all the bubbles with
yes,
with words.
The word bubbles. Yep.
Yes, I saw them in the parcel.
That was cool.
I do you actually type your own text into them?
No, they're they're just images that float above your
head. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I didn't actually use them, but I got them, of course.
I wore great for most of the time I was there. I was great.
There he is. There he is again, sitting down, chilling out.
The remarkable thing about this region, though, is you can't show here is the sound. All of the environmental sounds were by Lauren Tone. And they were fantastic.
Oh, he's always good. No wonder I can't turn the sound on. This is Thosa's blog. There was no sound. Yeah, very effective, very now. I never did see that dragony lizard thing. I remember people talking about it. Maybe it just didn't rest for me. But yeah. So it's rather funny. It's like look at the comic book where everybody's got the word balloon, except it's not really telling that much of a story. So what was that? That was is that Polynesia? Maitai?
Yeah, this was Tahiti was one reference, but also Canary Islands again, because we were at the Canary Islands the previous week, and so
yes, it would be this one, right? Yeah. Move along a bit. Okay, I'll just have a look to see. Oh, well, actually, it's so faint on here. I'm afraid there is a slight bubbling sound. I think I had ambient sounds on, but not all sounds, and it depended upon. It was. I ad-libbed. You can hear it now a bit, but it depends on where my camera was. I suspect I had here sounds from camera position, which is very different from hearing from avatar position. But anyway, we'll say next time we have a Safari review, we've got film of that to show you, of course, and more than lights. So let's move on now. Latest news in OpenSim here, basically. Paradoxical Sleep. I love this poster, actually. This is hosted by Star Ravenhurst, who, of course, was with us again last week. Music by Nico Kalani and art by Cherry Manga. And it all opens on September 29th of this year. And you can't quite see it at the bottom, unfortunately, but this will be on grid.10th dimension. That's 10 in words, by the way. TENTHDIMENSION.org. And it's very weird, actually, if you're thinking of going there. The region's called Imagination Island, but the port number they use is 26002. Go figure, right? That's a very unusual port number, 5 figures instead of 4. So, well, most people just have 8,002, don't they? So we'll find that there anyway. We'll come back to that when we get onto our meshy sort of thing. Okay, now the other thing to get in now, September 23rd, OS Grid are having a fundraiser. They're a free grid, basically, and they, their service still costs money and everything else like that. And they're looking for items to auction. They've got some already, as you'll see in a second. You need to contact admin or Caro Feyre Inworld in OS Grid if you've got anything you want to contribute to the auction. It will run from the 23rd to the 29th. And we actually went there and created a film last year when the fundraising site itself was full. And there's still quite a few things ready this year. So I did actually take some quick film of the build underway here. And I'm not quite sure this strange thing in the sky, a white sky. But anyway, I thought that was a good thing to start on. And basically, it's just
Mel, in favor of whom or what is that fundraising?
OS Grid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we contacted Caro Feyre. I tried to get her to see if she could come on, but no luck. I remember this last year. I mean, basically, people just contribute items and I don't know, presumably pay by PayPal or something. The idea is to raise money for OS Grid, which has no real other source of income. They don't rent land or anything like that. If you've got space there, it's courtesy of the grid. So they do a lot of good work. And indeed, our studio here at the moment is we do have other studios around, but this studio we come from weekly is located in OS Grid. In fact, we're on a region called Expiry or Expiry, and on the ground floor underneath us is a wonderful the Little Prince sort of installation, which is rather fantastic. So the things that you see people have contributed here, I mean, that would be quite useful. For example, public seating. There's other things that are just sort of little quirky things, but a wide range. A big red cottage and a bridge. Oh, the bridge works, by the way. In fact, I think I clicked on it while I was filming just to prove that it worked. There you are. The bridge rises and falls there. So you can bid for that or whatever. And looking else at what we got
That's
here.
That's really cool how the supports also rise up or rise down better. Normally a bridge, only the street part rises and the rest stays upright, and this one, whoop,
you just
the whole thing. It's really funny.
It's like the bridges across the river in London here. Some go up, some stay put, And then one of them actually forms a barrier to keep the tide out. So it will flood one day, I'm sure.
If you stand right there on the side of the support, you might get killed by that.
Yes. Yeah, they're pretty. When you close up with them, you realise that they're pretty. They may look great from distance, but when you're actually close up to them, they're sort of mechanical bits. Really heavy vibes, mechanics, so to speak. So I don't know. Oh no, of course, this is all for auction, so I couldn't pick one up while I was there. But yeah, I can imagine that bridge might come in useful actually.
Ooh.
I always laugh when there's on the roads in Britain, little roads. Sometimes buses are put on diversion because of roadworks, and you keep hearing these stories that the bus on diversion ends up chopping his top off because it comes to a bridge that's too low for it to get under. I mean, I don't think it actually rips the top off, but buses get stuck and then traffic is in chaos. Yeah, just take a shortcut that way.
We actually have that where I live, and we call bridges like that can crushers.
Yeah. Scripted. Oh yeah, that's
funny.
That's media on the prim, and it's scripted. Exactly what the difference is. Oh, you use a note card to store 12 channels. That may be useful then. And if you've got 12 YouTube accounts that you want to share with people a lot. Crystal Bowl, Mirror Club, very interesting. Oh, that's what Caro's own. Dance floor. Don't actually recognise all these creators. Bill Garrett, I don't know. Very popular, that. And everybody wants a music stage on their region, don't they? And there's that giant teddy bear again. Oh yeah, and then some of the smaller things are in here.
And they do that every year?
Yes, they do. I've got the film somewhere around of last year's, and it's it's the same thing. It was like a circular island in the sky, and we had everything there. I mean, I think last year there's a narrated while I was showing it or something. But yeah, I only saw it when I was dropping down somewhere, and I saw the poster, and I thought, actually, that's only a week or so away, so I better, we better get something for it. As the usual weird thing, the iRobot.
It's a member of the Residents, the band.
Of course. I knew there was something familiar about that. The band, yeah, of course. It's a bit like there's another band that always used to look weird from Ohio. What were they called? I can't remember. Not the Residents anyway, but yeah, I remember the Residents. Not going to waste time now trying to think of it. And a rotating ball, gosh golly. Magic quill love note. That's funny. You just type a love note. You just type a love note in that, I think. That's the idea.
Much nicer than local chat.
Well, yeah, exactly. And to be seen by all, of course.
Oh, you're also to be bought there, Mel?
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Mel's avatar is to be bought.
Oh.
Are you being auctioned also?
No.
There's a concept.
I'm not going to do that again. My former partner many years ago put me out for auction on something, and I don't even want to think about what happens next. She lost a lot of money making sure I didn't get sold to anybody. It was her idea. Yeah. I don't think auctioning people is a very good idea. Although I suppose, if you're a waste disposal company or something, you could always bid for the tram, the tram to stick in your garbage sort of machine. That would be a suitable thing to imagine. The fame you would get for putting the tramp in your garbage grinder. I'm silly. I'm being silly. Okay. So that was just a little bit of film there about that. And here it is again. Script fundraiser September 23rd to the 29th. And Caro Fayray Inworld is who you want to contact if you've got something to offer. Reminding you again, this is early next year, the Open Sim World's Fair. And once again, I forget what grid it's actually on. Yeah, that's, you know, if you want to build for that or have exhibitions and stuff there, they're taking stuff in now. And I can't, Tosha, can you remember what grid this is going to be on? This is the third week, I've forgotten. No, it's one of the major grids. I don't think it's Lone Wolf's grid. I think it's one of the other big ones. But anyway, it will be coming up in the future. And oh yeah, we did that one already. So yeah, I think that's about it for the anecdotal stuff. Just checking the latest. Another blog from Thursday was called "Call It Community." This is a French region. She's posted pictures of, and also she came up today with all I can say is this is an interesting little essay. I don't know. There are any pictures. Oh, there are a couple of pictures. That's the Alps. That's New York. That's a photograph of the Alps. And that's basically what she's done in this essay is she's compared New York City and the Alps. And in the case of New York City, she's talking about Second Life. And in the case of the Alps, the wide open spaces, she's talking about OpenSim. And she compares OpenSim and the benefits of it, like living in the Alps as opposed to getting stuck in New York City. So it's a wonderful sort of idea. So it's not about a destination or anything. It's really just an opinion piece, sort of praising OpenSim for what it is. So as with all Thursday's blogs, you find them at hgsafari.blogspot.com. So that's hgsafari.blogspot.com. And we had the 3 for the week there. So we're going to move on to the meshy business. Yes, we're going to get really meshy now. I always sort of think of, you know, I'm not a mesh, I'm a mess. I mean, I'm not a mess, I'm a mesh. Kind of stupid remarks. That's why I've said it, isn't it? Right. I'm just going to do a quick little intro first. Because obviously you can import mesh and export it, and there's other programs like Unity and the Unreal Engine that are used a lot. But Blender does have the advantage of being free, and it's in many ways it's open source like OpenSim itself. Now, where's best to go there? Oh, I know. I don't know where the hell it is, but it's open here somewhere. Yes, I shrunk it down. Okay, oops, that's not right. It's playing around.
There you go.
There we are. Yeah, so it's a different browser. No, this is actually the real program Blender I've opened here. This is what it looks like, and I don't use it. I think I fiddled with it once upon a time. But I have actually endeavored to use Unity a few times, which feels a bit similar, mostly because I had Adam at ScienceSpace sort of insisting on talking me through this and that and the other, and he's excellent at it, but of course a lot of what it was tech talk, which was a lot beyond me in many cases. But yeah, for example, if I option click on that cube, I can move it. Gosh, I can do something. I can put the light on the surface and do things like that, and at different angles. Anybody? Oh, these are different viewpoint angles. I think we axis. Oh god, where is it? I'm overhead and I can't get back to the ground. Anyway, I know most of you here. I don't know about Tosha and Marcus, who I think spend quite a lot of time in Blender, but I know that in the case of James and Petlove have made several points about the daunting interface. I gather, I'm going to start with you too, because I gather James and you, Petlove, are very much, have been doing some beginner stuff together and whatever in Blender. Do you want to talk about that and the problems and any comments about it? Yeah, how hard it is, or how easy it was when you found out how to do something particular? Let's start with
James can talk about that a lot better than I can. I think you should let James go first.
Yeah, I think so. You get the voice in, James. Come on.
All right. Well, you know, I'm a little reluctant to, but I did 3D rendering long ago. I worked on Commodore Amiga computers,
Oh,
and I used Lightwave and a variety of tools there. So I did have some experience with this, but I'm trying to get back into Blender again, mostly because I want some hair for my avatar. And so I didn't like any of the hair that I could buy. And so I said, I'm going to make some hair. And so, and Tasha's been doing some really wonderful things. So I've been asking Tasha to help give a little guidance on Blender. But it has so many commands. I don't know if anyone has counted the number of switches and menu items in Blender.
No,
And then
no.
every switch and menu changes depending what mode you're in. And it's
modeling,
amazing. Yeah.
sculpting, UV editing, texture painting.
Yeah. All the
Yeah,
above.
they're all up here, aren't they? And
Yep.
scene and rendering.
Well, let me say one thing. I think I'm absolutely fascinated by Blender. It's sort of a passion of mine. But I'm working in Blender about 10 years maybe now. But I'm still learning. I'm not a master. I'm not perfect. I don't even know half of it. And I only learn the things that interest me, of course, And what I find out is that if you imagine a house with very many rooms, and every room has about 10 doors, and you go inside, and then you learn everything in that room, and then you discover, oh shit, there are 9 more doors. And you go through one door and another room opens, that has 10 doors again. And so it seems endless what you can do, but it's very fascinating. And once you get, the beginning of it, you get the idea of it, and you just go without, caring much about what comes out. It is just wonderful, it's just, and it is dangerous because it's highly addictive, I'm sitting with Blender easily 12, 14 hours without stopping, without even bothering getting up to get a coffee.
Oh, wow.
Boy, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I think once upon a time when sort of, well, I never really did anything in, the real world. It was all 2D and Photoshop and things. And I do remember the Amiga, but I had titles and deluxe paint and things like that. Never anything that was 3D. I guess I missed out on that. So when Virtual Worlds came along, it was still a bit more of a challenge than not having a background. How about you, Marcus? I mean, I don't know what I would do here. I know I just clicked on the thing saying camera because is that where you go for video?
No,
probably not, because nothing much has happened here when I clicked on it. So all I know is if I use my right mouse button, I can make things go away, presumably. Yeah. Marcus, what have I done?
Well, welcome to my world now.
So you've been using it for a long while too, Marcus. Have you worked in the? I mean, obviously the video, which another side of it is I'd love to hear about. But have you sort of? Would you say you tackled all the things that it could? Well, not all the things it could do, I imagine, but a lot of different aspects of it.
Well, I first of all, yes. I mean, I love Tosha's analogy about, or Tosha, I apologize. Tosha's analogy about different rooms. That is just one of the best analogies I've ever had. There's so much to explore and do in Blender.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what can make it hard to learn too, unfortunately, because it's not, you have to learn how to do modeling. You have to learn how to UV unwrap. You have to learn how baking works. You have to learn, if you're working on avatars, you have to learn about armatures. There's so many different things to learn in there. And much like Tosha, also, yeah, once I start on a project, I tend to get, very focused on it and stay with it. It's because it's so much fun to create.
Yeah.
And for me, I also find myself, it's like there once in a while, and just like you, I've been using it for, at least a decade as well. And it's just, you never stop learning. You're absolutely right about that. There's always more to find, to discover. Plus, they're always updating it so often.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first picked up Blender, they were on version 2.4, and today it's on version 4.2, I think, is the current stable release.
Yes.
And it's just come an enormous enormous way from 2.4 in every way, in every conceivable way.
Well, they have made it for one thing, I think, a lot easier, a lot easier to handle. But, the things you can do are every time more complicated. But I think really it is part of the fun also, or like it creates more passion in me when I see, wow, I can do it also this way and I can also do that way and all these things. I really enjoy it very much. And I've been, James and Petlov are doing some some internet course of Blender, and I've been to some classes with them, and I can see there were beginner classes, and I looked at them and I enjoyed it very much to watch these classes because I could see that even though most of the things I was familiar with, but some of the things I said, oh my God, I did not know, or I would not have figured out by myself. I think it's just amazing. And
Absolutely, yeah.
and what I think is amazing that there is a huge group of people working on it constantly, and it keeps being, it doesn't cost anything.
Well, and not only that, but there's a huge ecosystem for Blender. Huge.
Yeah.
There's the Blender Marketplace, which Blender has add-ons, so people are
Oh
able
yeah.
to, add their own custom,
Yeah.
functionality. That's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for. Functionality to Blender, things that either, Blender previously could not do at all, or things that merely smooth out a workflow in Blender. And so, yeah, there's there's a Blender Marketplace, and some people also sell on like Gumroad and Itch and things like that. And many of those add-ons are absolutely free, absolutely open source. Some of them are paid. There's some wonderful everything from if you need to make mesh clothing to architecture to just letting Blender. There's one that will literally generate an entire city for you.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
need. That sounds great.
Or,
Really. I'm looking
or
them up
that,
right now.
or,
Does
or that
it
make
have an AI where you can talk to it and say, "Make me a
makes
city"?
mountains and and
I haven't
stones
played with.
and rocks and add-ons.
Yes, and I haven't played with any AI features in Blender, but yes, there absolutely are people who are, doing things like there are some of the AI image generators can do seamless textures, for example. Some of them can generate normal maps for anybody who knows what that means. So yeah, I mean, it's in there a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, the rise. It's a separate subject, really. We've talked about it before, but the rise of AI as a tool, a serious tool, where you can literally talk your way through things that your hands would have had to do before, and possibly you can talk. Whatever you're talking to, the AI can know. You don't have to pick the brush; it will do it for you, kind of thing.
Well, it's going to
Um,
get to the point where, I mean, it's not going to be tomorrow. It's going to be a little ways off. But
yeah,
they're working on things like where you could literally just say to your computer, I want to see a dog, and it makes a
yeah.
dog. You could say, I want, an English bulldog, and it will just boom, be there.
Oh well, but
Possibly,
that takes away a lot of the fun, really.
Oh, I
yeah,
agree. I agree.
yeah, exactly. I have seen some remarkable images. Obviously, where people have actually published this image, and I can tell a mile away that it's AI, but it's actually really wonderful to look at. And then what they do is they also publish the prompt they use to get the image, so you can see how and
Nice.
it's not just draw me a horse or something. It's actually quite a complicated prompt. You can tell that the person who did the prompt would know how to do it on their own, but they're using the AI to shortcut what they would take longer to do. And I've got to realize it's like at the beginning of Second Life, there was a group called Not Possible in Real Life, NPIRL. And that was something fascinating there. Was same in OpenSim here. You can do things that just aren't possible in real life. And I suppose in a way you can think of the AI as sort of circumventing, a massive amounts of work, but it does need some intelligent prompting. But it's also quite scary. I mean, we're not that. Firstly, the cost of this is the environmental cost in terms of server time and the computing time is phenomenal, which is why most people have to pay for their little AI chat. But also, when quantum computing gets onto this, it's a quantum computer to build a world, and I'm not talking about a virtual world. Go and build me a planet to go to. And the computing power will be, it would just do it in the fourth dimension or something, and then do a bit of quantum entanglement and bring it here. Something like that.
As you said,
I mean, it's really quite scary what's possible, but.
Yeah,
do you guys think, for Tosha and Marcus particularly, do you guys think that enhancements to Blender in that respect would you go for them, or do you prefer the idea that you're the craftsman who can manually tweak things?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think there are times when I want to be challenged. There are times when I want that nitty gritty, and I want paradoxically, I want the frustration. I want to learn, right? But there are other times, and I think this is very valid. Like, I often run into people in OpenSim or Second Life who say, "Oh, I'm not a builder," but they've created these big, beautiful regions. They've collected all these chairs or these buildings or these boats or these yachts or lamps, whatever that other people have made, and then they take those into a region and they make a beautiful little world. And I'm like, you are a builder. You are absolutely a builder. You may not have built that chair, but you made that chair part of a much larger tapestry. And to me, that is as much of being a builder as the person who made the chair that you're using. And I think that applies to things like, for Blender, if we do get to the point where people can say, I want, you to just make this specific table lamp. I don't, that's not cheating. That's just some people are going to be down in the nitty gritty, and some people just want to make, fill the tapestry. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, for example, most of the things I like to build myself. And when I build a region, like the regions I have in Craft, most of the things I build myself also. But there are some things I could not do. And that would be, for example, dogs. I mean, impossible. I tried it and they look incredible, And that would be nice to say to Blender, make me a dog, Make me
Absolutely, I agree. There are just sometimes you just run into a block. It's like I just can't do this or do it well. It's like this isn't something I would be proud to show the world, right?
And it would be so much effort to learn, and others can do it already so much better. So I don't know why I should learn that,
Hey. Speaking of dogs, I was going to say this would be a good time to share the picture I gave you, Mal, because that's the extent of my ability to even begin to try to create anything like a dog.
Okay, that's okay. This is on the left-hand screen, by the way. So James knows where it is.
It was starting to look a little bit like a dog, but then I clicked something and it blew it apart.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it.
I would not have ever dreamt that it was a dog in progress.
But
That's
seriously,
why,
I can only give you the one advice to both of you, James and Pat, is start little. Start with square, with a lot of patience, and all the time you feel like spending on it. Start with squares, to hollow them, to make them different shapes, to give them color, to give them texture, to move them around and all that. And then start with spheres, for example, in all the different forms, and just, like they show here, and just make them different, make them smooth, unsmooth them, and, shade them flat again, and do all these kinds of things until you can handle them well. And after that, you can start putting them together and making different forms out of them.
That's really good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that really. because if not, you always getting frustrated. But once you can handle a cube well, and you can hollow it and you can, do all different things with it, then you feel like, well, great, I can do something.
Yeah.
And that might make you feel like doing more,
Mhm. Good
Yeah,
idea.
absolutely. And patience. I
Yeah,
mean,
patience.
Blender
Yeah.
definitely takes a little bit of dedication.
Mm.
And some of that is, for me, it was I always loved the idea. I loved 3D graphics, and CGI and things like that. I've always been a sucker for it. And I'm not a good artist in terms of I can't draw. And so I always assumed that I had really very little or no artistic talent. And then Blender proved me wrong.
Mm.
I was able to
Good.
do, for some reason, just that having that extra depth dimension made all the difference in the world for me. And I was able to make things that I look great, look absolutely great.
Right.
And it really opened up my world a whole lot. So that's another thing, is if you're an artist, or if you don't think you're an artist, you can't draw, you're a stick figure kind of person, maybe try Blender. You might be surprised.
Mm.
I mean, as somebody who's never been an artist per se, but I mean, I am a designer one way or I've been, in various respects. You can get away with a lot of creative stuff if you can use color, if you can use shapes, even if they're semi-geometrical. And when I first see something like this, I think, oh, boring, cute. Oh, well, actually, same in Second Life. Oh, well, so what? It's a cube. But you then realize you can do sort of different things to it. And one thing with the Unity tools in ScienceBase and Unity proper is what amazing difference you can make with lights. Whereas you can create something, in wireframe or basic, and then you can detail it and whatever like that. And even put textures on things so that it becomes more, I should say, realistic or fully.
Yeah, but Mel,
But then you
think
can
about it that if you create Blender for OpenSim or for virtual world, that is not the major thing. There, the major thing is that you have the right forms and the right textures and the lights you add in virtual world. Actually,
very, very true. I was just getting off on a tangent there,
you
wasn't I?
can
Yeah.
of course, when you add the right lights and all that, then you can make different textures within Blender. But I find that is so time consuming, and so I've done a couple of things with that, and it always took me a lot of time. So I normally use simple textures and I change them in OpenSim. So I use like textures and I'll use normals that give you more structure within OpenSim to the textures that you use and stuff like that, But I don't make the complete textures in Blender.
I also found textures were a bit challenging for me,
Yeah.
and Substance Painter was a big savior there for me. Substance Painter and Substance Designer, which are not open source and will cost you a pretty penny. Fortunately, I was able to snag a perpetual license before Adobe acquired them. But
yes. No more logging in by the day at such and such a price to use it.
But again, that's another area where there's a huge ecosystem, and a free one too. You can go to places like polyhaven.org, and they have a huge library of PBR materials that you can use. Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to this.
SketchUp also has a huge
Yeah.
amount of different very good textures, and there are very many sites that do. And there are also sites of little programs, really also open source, very little programs, or well, I don't know if open source, but they don't cost anything. And they make you, if you put one texture in there, they can create a normal map for you, or they create, I don't know, shiny map and all these kind of things for you, which you can add in OpenSim then, or in virtual world to your thing that you've made to the texture, and it gives you really a structure. You walk past a thing like that and it looks as if you could put your finger into little holes.
Absolutely, and the wonderful thing is you and I know that there is no hole.
Yeah.
There is no spoon, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take a little diversion here. It's related, of course, because I'm going to show some stuff that I don't have a copy. I don't even think I'm meant to have downloaded it, but I'm devious. I certainly don't have any copyright or permission to show it, but since we're giving them some free advertising, I don't see why not. This is a site called Humble Bundle, HUMBLEBUNDLE.com. And I'm buying stuff here all the while because you get like thousands of pounds worth of stuff for pennies. My library here is mostly comic book anthologies. I still keep an eye on it. I've been involved with comics for a long while, so I sort of download, the whole archive from the whole 70s here, but they offer you these bundles for as well as comics and books. They have games, which we have here, and we have software. And the latest software one here, which is still good, by the way, for 7 days. What happens with Humble Bundle is they sell almost for nothing software from major places like Blender. And it goes to charity, basically. And, the offers are on for maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a time. So you don't have to rush to them, like give away of the day or something. So this one was one that came, unlike the comic ones that I'm always open, this one came in. And I actually posted this just now to Atlloud, but also Tosha saw this before. Basically, nearly £20, which is probably near 20 years, I don't know, but it's like £1,326 value, and you just pay what you want. If you pay less than the recommended amount, which was £19, you get less choice, but you can still buy a few things for next to nothing. But the Blender ones they offered here, like the character course, this listing shows all the things you get for is that the 17 item bundle? Let's have a look.
Yeah, for example, the one up on the upper left corner, that one, Blender animation and rigging course. I thought that was really very interesting.
Right, you did get to see it in the end, did you, as well? That was one thing that I did notice about this when I got them the other day was that unlike the PDFs of comic strips and stuff, you don't download them and build up a collection. You actually are meant to get what you get here is you get a link to another site I'll come to in a minute, where you actually go to the site and you listen to the videos online. You can obviously shrink them into small windows so you can have the video playing while you're in Blender at the same time. But it's I was a bit annoyed that I had to find my own way of downloading the video, so to speak. But this course was excellent. I mean, I barely started on them yet. There are just hours and hours and hours. But although technically most of these are courses, a couple of them do involve downloads. For example, there's a Blender material pack here, Dungeon Walls and Floors, $95 worth. You can just download all those materials. Alpha brushes, you can download those. So some of the components here are actually useful resources. So, and if you go to humblebundle.com and look up that one, you can get the whole this isn't just 17 items. This is, well, it's 17 items, but it includes multiple, that course, for example, it includes about 20 or 30 different videos, and it still counts as one item the way they list it. So you can't possibly go wrong with this. And so you can get assets there too. Now, switching back to my normal view, to do all this, I've been flipping through software, different browsers. Coming back to here, this is this, for example, is one of the ones I actually downloaded. And I'll give you an idea of what actually is happening now. I was playing it earlier, but I had it muted.
Finding out where a few things are. So let's get started. So here we are in Blender, and we're ready to get creating. First of all, let's talk about the interface. This window here is the viewport, and we can move around the viewport by holding down middle mouse button, and that circles around a center point. Notice also I've got my screencast keys at the bottom here, so when I press a button, you can see what I've pressed on the bottom right-hand corner there. So if I left-click to select this light, you can see there's left-click there, and left-click to select the camera. I can also click and drag across objects to select multiple objects at once. And you can see them highlighted by orange and yellow colors here. If it's colored yellow, that means it's the active object. That's the object you select last, and any changes you make to that will only affect that one object that is active. More about that later though.
Probably at a later point where Tosha and maybe Pet Love have got these things, a better critique of the actual training. But it actually seemed to me that not only is this a lot of value for money as training courses, but well, nicely presented. I mean, I'm biased because the guy's it's an English voice.
Well, really?
I'm joking, but actually that's surprising. When I got them, I actually thought, I was quite surprised by that.
Well, actually, Mel, you find hundreds and hundreds of tutorials for Blender online that don't cost you nothing. You also find ones that cost, but some of them are really bad and some of them are really great. So you just have to stumble through them. You might have to check 20 tutorials before you find one that you can really understand, you know?
Yeah.
Some just go so fast. Some just have a voice that is practically not understandable, you know, like that. And you just have to find the ones that you like. And I have some, for example, making a chain that you can also twist and make different forms out of it. That's one of my favorite tutorials because I keep forgetting how to make it. So I'm sure to have it always pinned, you know, so I can recur to it because I don't use a chain so often, you know. And it's really and that's really one that I looked up so many tutorials until I found that one, and I said that's it, you know, I keep it.
That's the one.
So,
Brilliant.
Well, I must say, when I saw these, I thought, "Oh my God!" Firstly, I've got to watch them online, and I thought, there's $1,000 here. Where do I start? But I naturally did what I suppose you were doing. I clicked on the tutorial that actually sounded interesting. Not the I'll look at that one if I get any ideas. That's a beginner one, apparently, Blender texture painting. But you're quite right. You can get these things everywhere, and I've come across the same with Unity. I came across a lot, but if you look them up on YouTube, it's sort of potluck. You get an awful one, then you get a medium one, then you get a really good one, and you got bookmark it. This does seem to be this website is called gamedev.tv, GAMEDEV.tv. And this basically, I've got a dashboard here, which of course is where all the things I've actually bought via the Humble Bumble site ended up. So basically sent a code, like a coupon code to this site. The coupon code went into here, and then lo and behold, I've got access to all these sort of things. So I'm plugging them a bit because it's been rather useful here today. Right now, we'll continue. I forgot at the beginning of the show. I've got one more web page up here. Discovery Grid. This is big news. This is literally today. The Discovery Grid is shutting down on December 15th, which is a while yet. But they're going to be moving to something they call a modern 3D world platform, O3DE. And that is not OpenSim at all. It's one of these new fangled sort of things. Probably, dare I say it, probably a mesh-based world. I don't know that for sure. But anyway, they've announced this here. And also, they were a non-profit corporation. To prevent repeats of what happened to Inworld and other places. Unfortunately, Grid does not need quite a lot of people updating, upgrading. The only thing we have going for us is the smooth region crossings and blah, blah, blah. So they are, well, Discovery Grid by name on OpenSim is closing down, unfortunately. But they are, as they say, continuing there. So I'm sure if you go to Discovery Grid, you can find out more. Literally, this was posted. It's a Joomla page or something or other. So, but it literally was, I think that was midnight last night on it or something. So very recent. And the other thing I was going to quickly look at is this is a site called Equimake, EQUIMAKE.com. And what you can do here is you can, in fact, if I can get back to start page here, somebody we actually know quite well. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't mean to be in the. Okay, I'm on a different machine, so I'm not logged in under my own name. But Sun Tzu, who you may know from Avicon and stuff, he certainly had one he did here as a demo. But where do I find it if I'm a guest? Library, Public 3D library. Okay, I can't quite remember. Okay, but well, choosing something simple. If I load this one, for example, then you'd have to double check, but I think most of these are sort of free to download. Although to get all the full permissions and stuff, you have to open a Maker account. I know I've got a Maker account because they gave me one. So I'm biased. That's why I'm advertising them. But no, seriously, that's you can actually take something like this and you can drag it into a scene, or you can actually save it yourself. This is actually a preview, so you can't do much with it in its own
Well,
right.
Mel, quite frankly, things like that you can have in Blender too. You have add-ons, for example, for rocks and stones and for even mountains and stuff like that. You have architecture add-ons that will just make you, what do you call it, stairs, doors, windows, everything with the closure of the window and everything, every little detail, and you can just pull it into your set, you know.
Absolutely. And they're also, Blender acquired the asset library feature not long ago. So people are releasing entire libraries of assets that you can just literally just click and drag right in Blender. Yeah.
And trees, you can make all kinds of different trees also in Blender, and also an add-on for trees.
The reason,
works pretty well.
The reason I tied this in with our Blender thing is that actually you can you can do several things with what you get, and also you can author, as it were. This one actually is a photo gallery that was published by David Filson, his son Tzu. You may know him in Second Life, and he's with Avicon in Second Life as well a lot. And it's just a gallery and you can move around in it, so to speak. But this is something you can do on their site with their objects. But the thing is, you can also, whether you've created an object or pulled something out of the warehouse, you can also download it and import these objects into things like Blender or Unity. So if you saw something at this site, for example, that you thought, oh, it's going to take me ages to do that and I can't find it in a Blender library, you could actually, export the object concerned. This one's actually very simple. It is quite literally just a building with a gallery with some, photos on it, and get different points of view and stuff. I mean, these things as standalone on the web can be quite useful, if you've got 2DI you want to show off. But one of the reasons I've mentioned them though is because, as I say, one of the things you can do here is export content off the shelf, so to speak, and you can subsequently import that quite easily into Blender. In fact, I think some of the things you can export here will be actually things, actually file formats that you can import into OpenSim directly. So, anyway, we don't often go into this sort of stuff, so it's kind of nice to have a day when we're looking at something a bit different. And the other thing I wanted to mention while we're here, James, am I right in thinking you actually are in VR chat now and again?
Yeah, sure. Marcus has been there a couple times. I think I've
Yeah.
gone there with Pet Love. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, the reason right. Well, the reason I asked is actually that I bookmarked this. Oh, God. What's it? What's it doing? Come on, it's an ordinary link. Oh God, couldn't go find the back button. Oh, I want a back button. Never mind. This was actually a link during the week, and it's actually Upload VR, who we used to feature on one of our other shows quite a lot. They had a blog post here, which is the best worlds list, and it's actually a lot. They feature quite a lot of. Oh, I know. There we are. Right. It's more stressful doing it live, Right. And it's sort of got these videos of all sorts of the best worlds there. Now, I'm not sure, but I think they use mesh quite a lot, don't they, in VR worlds?
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, for example, this is another platform where if you're altering in Blender, this might be an option to take something altered in Blender and put it in VR chat. Which I must admit, it's one of the few things around that seems to be I won't say as exciting as OpenSim.
Well, really using mesh as opposed, for example, in a virtual world to prims, it's a little misleading because also prims are mesh, of course. They're only just very simple forms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you can see every form. The simplest cube is a mesh, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
it's only very simple, and you cannot, do so many things with it that you can do in Blender, where the mesh is much more defined.
Yeah, I forget the number, but there's an astonishing number of vertices, aren't they, that make up the Second Life cube. I mean, if you're working with prims, you just squares and circles and mangling and stuff like that. But if you actually, what seems like a simple cube rest in Second Life or in OpenSim has actually got quite a lot of vertices.
Go look into the Ivory City.
Oh, of course.
You can twist and turn every prim so many times and in so many ways. And I remember Lumiere Noir could change and twist the prims in a way he really was a master of it. He could twist and change them so much that he could, crash every sim with it. So much twisting he did to it, and sometimes he would say to me, shall we crash the sim? And then he started dung, 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 and crash,
Yeah,
it's fascinating because
in Second Life, of course, one of the big landmarks is the Ivory Tower primitives, which of course is his thing. But
in OpenSim, exactly in Craft, we have the Ivory City. That is a whole huge big setup, and it has exactly the same as in the in the Ivory Tower, except more explicative and with more plays and with more examples, and everything with a note card, and I think in 4 languages each note card, so you can really.
It's very interesting.
You want there? It's really interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
And yes, you're behind that. Yeah, we've shown that quite a few times. That is a wonderful build that you've done there, and a real tribute to him as well. So I shall move back to the regular stuff here now, so that I haven't got so many windows pointing at us. Oops.
Before we move too far away from, we were talking about tutorials. Yeah, the one thing I'd like to say about anybody who's interested in learning Blender and just has been scared to.
Sorry,
first of all,
I need to close this because I'm getting sound coming from somewhere. That's fine. Sorry about that. Carry on, Marcus.
Well, first of all, don't be scared by Blender. Like I said, it just takes some dedication and time. And second of all, when you are looking for tutorials, as Tosha said, there are good ones and there are bad ones. And on top of that, there are also ones that are meant for artists who want to be Pixar. Basically, they're creating very, very realistic, hyper realistic, images in Blender that consume, not trillions, but millions, many, many tens of millions of little triangles. And that's great. But you don't want to bring that into something like OpenSim or Second Life, obviously. It would crawl. You'd be looking at a slideshow. So when you're looking for tutorials, the other tip I would give is look for ones that are especially focused on like game type tutorials, because the techniques you will learn there are going to be perfect for Open Simulator or Second Life.
Exactly. And one thing also is true, when you upload things from, export is always fine from Blender, but if you import them later on into Virtual World or in OpenSim, you might find, to your surprise, that it won't work because your thing is too big, has too many triangles, too many vertices, and then it just cannot, all the lines or the things that you made are too small, then OpenSim will refuse it too. And there only is one thing to do then, but it's really fairly simple once you get used to it, is to import it in parts and then put it together in wherever you are in your land,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice.
Right, there's two questions that being the one who knows nothing here basically puzzle me. Well, not totally, but other aspects of Blender here. And one is when you export something from Blender to bring it into OpenSim, and Tosha's just raised some issues there, in fact. Mesh and stuff, when it's brought into OpenSim, needs to be specially rigged, doesn't it? Now,
no. Only clothes and hair that you want to move, everything that you want moving, on your body or something, or the avatars themselves, that needs to be rigged. And of course, animals and stuff. But if you want them
animeshes.
But in animeshes, but anything else, like houses, like trees, like anything like that, does not need to be rigged at all. You can, that's why you can, like with the shoes of James, you can make them as big as you want to, and you can shrink them in OpenSim then.
We've discussed that before, haven't we? People who make jewelry, for example, it's just
exactly
on a finger, but the original is the size of a building, and so
because once it is rigged, you cannot change the size anymore.
So is James going to have a little bit problem when he finishes his hair? Is he going to have to take a course in rigging?
Yeah, if he wants
long flowing hair.
Yeah, if he wants it to be rigged, but much hair is not rigged. Like, for example, my wig, it's practically mesh in one part and doesn't move, and the rest is flexi prims.
So it's a mystery. So I love your hair. It's the first thing I see, but even from a distance, when I see you in World, I say, follow the hair. It's
lovely.
Great.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
It's what makes me stick out everywhere. It's recognizable.
So you should. It's great.
Really makes your eyes pop.
Yeah. Well, it's what I always wanted my whole life long, and it's what I like the most about Great Britain, that there are so many red hairs around. I love red hair, and I have really.
Yay! I'm red hair. So is Pat, isn't she?
I have.
Yeah,
really,
I am.
In real life, I have like very light blonde spaghetti hair.
Stop! I'm sure it's
straight
nice.
up and down, and therefore I love this red curls.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, and I have red curls, and I like straight red hair.
Yeah. You see?
We always want what we don't have.
Yeah.
Use some tomatoes as a shampoo and do wonders.
I have brown hair, but when I got old enough to grow a beard, I was thrilled because my beard grows out red.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I got red hair, but the beard's mostly white. Go figure. So other people, and there are a few holes on top as well. Never mind. Never mind. Now the final thing, and actually, this is a question for Marcus. The other thing, as I mentioned earlier, is that the first things I heard mentioned of you using Blender was for video. Now we haven't really talked about that. How is that? Does that work? Is it? Do you author the video? I mean, I imagine there's two things you can do. You can either author something in Blender that you then make a video of, or you can use Blender as a video making tool in its own right. And I believe you did that with some conference intros and things like that way back when, and probably many more since.
Absolutely.
How does that work? And how do you go about that?
Well, it's one of those things where it's another room in the Blender house, right? I love that. I love that analogy. I'm going to use it.
It is good,
Tosha. It's so like, for example, if you watch the Open Simulator Community Conference, in between presentations, you will see there's just this very simple, there's some wavy lines in the background, and the video will be telling you what's coming up next, and there's just a cube that drops down with the OpenSim logo and all this stuff. And that was all, each of those things, the platform on the bottom and the cube were made in Blender. And then I just opened up, then Blender also has what's called a compositing mode. So you can do things like composite the cube and the platform over those wavy lines in the background. And then you can take all of that and move it into the video editor. And then you can, there's a video editor mode. And then from there you can start to compose and add text and things like that. And like I used the compositor to come up with like a lens flare, and just lots of things you can just
so when you enter,
so much you can do.
When you enter, shall we say, the video room, can you does that work as a kind of standalone environment? In other words, all the rest of the jungle that is,
if you wanted, you could use Blender for nothing more than video editing. Absolutely.
So you can set a mode where you're just working on video, right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it would. It wouldn't rival like Adobe Premiere or Vega or DaVinci Resolve, but if you just want if you've already got Blender and you're using it, I would highly recommend anybody just check out the video side. It seems a little bit odd at first, but it's not. You get the same thing you would see in most video editors with, the previews on top and the tracks on the bottom, and you can just move them around and make transitions. You can import your own video or audio. I would
certainly see myself looking into, if it's easy enough, into the compositing side of it. Basically, anything I do like that, I've got to find the right software to go in, dive in, sort it out, do it, and get it out again. So I don't know when there's something to do like that. That it's touch and go whether I use various software I've got lying around, or whether I go into a more complex program and insert logos and lower thirds and animate. And I'm no expert on that. So I'm past learning, really, but it's good to know that the compositing side of it could come in very useful.
Never too old to learn, Mal. Never.
No. Life is a lifelong learning adventure. It is. It just tends to be a bit slower on the uptake, as they say.
Well, but on the other hand, you have more time now, practically, to dispose of on your own, so you can take all the time you want.
Exactly.
Well, sort of, but most of the time I reserve for sleeping.
And climbing stairs, right?
Oh my God! I was so out of breath when I opened the phone call for this show, because I just taken a big my arms are okay, but I carried if my balance is okay, took a big bag of garbage downstairs, and then of course the bottom of that is then I have to come back up the mountain again. That really puts me out of breath.
Yeah, down's easy. Up is hard.
Yeah, carrying the rubbish is fine. Climbing the stairs is something else.
By the way, Tosha, somebody on YouTube, YTFP Chris, said that they love your iconic hair.
Oh, wonderful. I was about to ask James. I was about to ask James actually if there's any comments on the channel.
Yeah, I really love my hair too, and I have no idea where I got it from. I most certainly didn't make it myself, but I forgot I've got it for years already, and I use it all the time. So, but you know, I kind of would like to show you the thing, the villa, and the other thing, the wireframe of the villa now, for anybody that says, "Well, Blender, of course, I make it very cool," just to give you a little shock. So,
so this is right. This is the first one you gave me. Okay.
Yeah, this is the wireframe of the window. That is what you can put it in Blender like that, you know, and it's handy to put that because sometimes you need to see just what you have on there, you know, like you want to looking for a special item or you want to see if you have marked it all for export or something like that, you
like
know.
all the parts. Yeah, that's
this
neat.
is now all highlighted, so you can see it better. If not, just normally it's black lines, you know.
Tell me, if you brought something like this into OpenSim, right? Would you be able to go into wireframe in OpenSim and still see the same level of detail?
No, not at all.
Right. Okay.
No, not at all. And I would also highly recommend not to, you know, this thing alone. When I uploaded it to OpenSim, it was about, I think, 45 pieces, single pieces. You know, if not, it was impossible to import. And then I did the stupidity to connect them all in Craft, and it happened as it should not, but it happened as it happens. That one day I was kind of in a hectical mood and, you know, with a new computer and everything, I did click, 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 and the whole villa was gone. Everything, you know.
Oh
no.
And that all fell apart into pieces that you could.
And that on a property that is not my own, you know, on a region that is for the, you know, Italian school grid, and I could not upload an OR. Normally, I upload ORs. Well, I save ORs regularly, but thank goodness we have Liku, you know, the grid owner. And a day later, I had my villa again. I had to repass a few things, you know, but you know, I actually had it back again.
This here is the same villa as it is.
Yeah. It's a little bit different perspective because if I would have tipped it so you can see the roof, then you would see only trees on the picture.
Oh, right, from behind it, yeah.
But I'm really proud of it because that is a Toscana, is that right?
It's Italian kind of build, isn't it?
It's a part of Italy, and that's a Medici villa. The Medici was an old you know, family there, and rich and horrible family, really.
Yeah, I've heard the name, I think, in those dramas and things that are not.
Yeah, exactly. And so when Lico asked me to build this, so this was in commission also, when he asked me to build this, I said, oh, okay, just cubes practically from the outside. And then I went on the inside and I said, oh my God, the rooms, you know, at that time, that thing was built in 1400 something. And so they had really tiny rooms. And as an avatar, you can barely walk around in those, you know. And to make it so big is not a way either, because then the avatar is so tiny and lost in there. So I just took out some walls and I changed the architecture a little bit.
The nerve.
This is like when you get an instant message from the Tinies saying, come to our house party. And you arrive, you know, and you can barely get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, And anyways,
I must come to that. I haven't filmed some of the inside actually.
This one, the portico, the lower part, you cannot go inside, but the upper part of the first and the second floor, you can go inside, and you have different rooms in there, and a little bathroom, and a little dining room, and all these kind of things. And on the upper floor, I said, the hell with all the walls, and I made just one big room, and I have.
I always know these whole double staircase things. I mean, you get them inside buildings too, but it always reminds me of sort of, I don't know, early Hollywood stages, you know, where the dancers would come down to the side.
Yeah.
They'd also come out in a row, and it always looks theatrical for me. I can't see the reason for having two stairs except for theatre. Yeah. But what's his name? Max? Is it Max? They made all those, I guess, 30s Hollywood things, mostly black and white, but he used his camera in the air and stuff, and you could see all the dancers. I bet you know who I mean. Yeah, but anyway, you know, the whole dance numbers were just made for the camera, you know, and they look like kaleidoscopes from above.
And the problem with the inside of this villa, well, a little bit with the outside too, but mostly with the inside, was also that you have thousands of pictures. Well, I'm exaggerating, but you know, almost 1,000 pictures of the inside of different rooms and different things, but nobody describes what is on the picture, you know, so you can only guess and look around. And also some pictures are well done, you know, that you can use as textures, and others are not so well, but then you twiddle your way through there, you know, some way or the other.
Can't do it one way or another. I like the clock too, the one with the classical Roman numerals. Is that a working clock or with a script, or is it just decorative?
No. I could put a script in there, but at the moment it's just a photo.
We used to have back in the days of the other place.
Sure, I could make
the other place that remains nameless. We used to have in our house in the sky a Swiss cuckoo clock kind of thing, and it was really elaborate and picturesque. But the thing is, it was scripted on what was Second Life time, basically. The cuckoo would jump out of the wall and let off a noise and everything else on the hour. So you'd be just sitting around relaxing in the seat in your virtual house and something, and you wouldn't know. You forget the hour was coming up, and then on the hour, this bloody clock.
Yeah, but that's why I would hate to have a clock like that in my house too. Apart from that, I find them ugly. I mean, in the real life house, you know, not that I find them pretty ugly, but then on top of it, every hour.
Well, you know, in the virtual world, you can always switch it off, I suppose, or depress it when you don't want it.
But with this clock, Mel, good idea. I think I will put a script inside.
Yeah, it's very timeless. It looks very high up on the sort of top part of the building, but it's got that look. You know, even though I'm only seeing it really small there, you know, it's got that look to it. You know, is that a bell on top of the clock? Can't be.
Yes.
Can't say it is. Right. Okay, that explains it. Yeah.
But the bell remains silent, and then what you don't see on here because it's a little bit too far away. There is also what do you call the clocks that work with the sunlight?
Oh,
sundial.
Yeah, that is above the right lower window, and that's very cute. Sundial. It doesn't work either, of course, but it looks cute.
Oh, and somebody's getting angry. I should have guessed. I knew this show would be just as long as normal. For those of you who don't know, he's just popped in from behind the curtain here. Our the canine of sorts, and when he makes that noise, it means he's hungry. And when he's hungry, he's telling us he's going to get really pissed and be a real nuisance unless we shut down the show and go feed him.
Throw him a chicken.
Yeah.
There's a monkey here. He could eat the monkey.
I've been wanting to say he's going to eat the monkey. Yeah.
I was just going to say, Marcus beat me too. I hope he doesn't eat the monkeys.
And there's a little kitty under there too.
A little kitty, yeah, you might be. You probably could manage the kitty.
Oh, I'm betting on the kitty. The kitty would win.
Yeah. I don't know.
Pew,
Oh
pew,
well,
pew.
oh well. It is a cube, but he knows he has to be patient. He doesn't know it's not an immediate event. No, you've let us know what you want, so you have to hang around there for a little while we prepare ourselves to come and feed you. Yes. Oh, isn't role play wonderful? Right. something like that. Anyway, okay.
Oh,
I'll just quickly going through the things here, just check there's nothing I actually missed. We're not going to be showing any safari film today or whatever. Oh, this might be of interest. Let me just okay. This is 2:30 minutes. It's quite an attractive video. But basically this is entitled PBR in Second Life. So usually anything that's possible in Second Life can be done in OpenSim, plus extras we can do here, of course. But I thought I'd play this. It's just nice to look at and listen to. Now the PBR is the textures on textures basically, isn't it, on the surface of faces?
Well, if you're going to be technical, PBR is there. You're talking about materials, so you will have like one texture that is just the colors of the object, right? And then you'll have another texture that is like the normal map that provides all the bumps and the makes it look like you can touch out and feel it. And then there are masks called roughness or metallic. So if you have something like, let's say you have a gold throne, you can actually, use a texture to make it look very metallic.
Yeah, like on these animals there in the background.
Actually, even back in the days of Photoshop, we used to use bump maps to.
Yes, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
So this could be equally done in OpenSim too, though, couldn't it? It's basically the same.
Oh, sure.
If you're using Firestorm or whatever.
Well, I don't know if the brilliance of the floor here, where you can that mirrors practically everything above. I think so much you cannot do unless you use the newest Firestorm and you make a mirror.
Right.
And that is a nice new feature. I tried it, but I didn't get very far on it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, what's really exciting here is PBR is kind of a subset of what Linden Lab is working on. It's just part of a bigger project called, that will support a format called GLTF. And anybody who's imported meshes into OpenSim or Second Life in the past is probably familiar with Collada. And Collada, unfortunately, never really took off, and it's no longer very well maintained over on Blender. But GLTF is another open standard, just like Collada was, but it really has taken off. It's gotten really wide adoption, and that means that for anybody who's created objects for VR Chat or Decentraland or Mozilla Hubs, or if you were back in High Fidelity in the day. Yeah. All of these, you were creating stuff that were probably being saved in GLTF format. So if if you're one of those kind of creators, you'll suddenly be able to just simply bring them in. They may need a little bit of refinement to hit Second Life's limits and things like that. But other than that, they're ready to go, and that is very exciting.
Yeah.
You may know there's he was on the Open Metaverse Initiative and is in the Fair Share group too. A guy called Jin.
Yes, I'm familiar with Jin.
Yeah, and I think it was through OMI a couple of years ago or something. I mean, I just lightly keep track of what they're doing, but don't really attend their meetings anymore. But yeah, I think he was doing a lot of stuff even a couple of years ago, which was that format. And they worked with what was it? NVIDIA, I think, got involved with them on that, and as a set standard.
Yeah, it's the Kronos group that actually sets the standard for GLTF.
Yeah. So I'm getting Yeah, I'm getting confused with those two.
So many industry partners to keep track of.
I know, yeah, exactly. I've actually, I used to do a weekly news,
but it can't be imported into virtual world or into OpenSim like Collada does it?
Yes, that's the goal.
Yeah, no, it
that's
can.
The goal. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
a goal.
I guess it's one of these it's the like conversion sort of things, isn't it? It's one of these formats that would easily convert to pretty much whatever you want, if that's my understanding.
Oh,
whereas
absolutely.
some of the other formats are very, unto themselves, so to speak.
Well, the King of the Hill for the longest time has been a format called FBX, which is a format that is supported by Autodesk, which makes extremely expensive software for things like CAD and 3D modeling. And that is not an open standard. They just warp that format into whatever form they need at the time, so it's not well documented. People have to go way out of their way to reverse engineer it to make it work in things like Blender or Open Simulator. So it's just a pain for everybody who isn't Autodesk to deal with. And then that's why I think that's a big reason why Collada was born. And now GLTF, and GLTF can do so much, everything from simple static meshes to animated avatars, to an entire scene. I mean, it's very very powerful.
I have to investigate that a lot more. Would you have any recommendations for authoring in GLTF?
Blender.
Well, I mean, Blender obviously you can export because it's such a universal format now. But any others? I mean, I'm a great one for it's like with video or anything else I'm doing on the web. I like mini programs that do one job and one job only, and I can just dive into it, get it done, and then import it where I want it. So rather than open Blender, for example, I mean, GLTF can be.
There are almost certainly. I just use Blender for everything, so I feel uninformed on this one, but I would have to say that yes, there have to be standalone applications that will either convert formats or things like that. Matter of fact, there are probably just websites where you can just upload one format and it'll and it will convert it, and then you could just download it again, and Bob's your uncle. So
I've seen a lot of websites that have the finished products, and like as you said, hubs, for example, Mozilla hubs and others. It seems that I know Jim was making booths and things, and you just plonk the same booth into loads of different web worlds.
Absolutely.
So something else I've always quite liked. I mean, it's over and beyond interoperability, which we really need. And better communications on things like Hypergrid and stuff, is the idea that you can make a studio, for example, or just a booth for a conference, and you could have it in just about every format you needed and put exactly the same content in a load of different spaces. So if people are holding conferences on the web and they're web worlds, nobody, those audiences are never going to come into OpenSim or even Second Life these days. But if you had something that is permanent here that you could just pick up and then take with you somewhere to a web world or something and just dump it down, and preferably communicate between the two of them. I mean, that's something that excites me still.
Absolutely, I agree.
Whether it happens,
Yeah, it's very exciting, the thought that there are creators out there that have created for other worlds, and now they may have avoided Second Life simply because there weren't any easily compatible formats, and GLTF will definitely change that. It will lower the friction to bring content in tremendously.
There were a few things that were sort of related, because I know we had them at the FCC a couple of times. Cyber Lounge, for example, is one of them. It was built in OpenSim, but then I forget the name of the guy, it's German. And then he took that to the web, so it's now a web page, and you can go into a scene that was actually an open sim, and it's just been now exported onto the web. I don't think it was. I don't know what format he used. It was a good few years ago now. But it's probably I don't think anybody ever goes. There's a tweet once a week saying "meeting now," and I think Thinker and Melville goes, and that's about it. Yeah, it's that kind of thing where it's sort of just as I have several copies of this studio in different places, one in Avacon, of course, and Neverland, and all sorts of places. The viewers, especially the viewers anyway, who never see the film, don't actually necessarily know where we're filming. It just looks like our studio, if you see what I mean. And I think they get, people get a commonality out of that, sort of, if they recognize the studio, or same with our avatars, they recognize our avatars. And,
especially avatars, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, especially avatars. I mean, if we're on one of the frustrations with me is always every new grid, every new place I go, I've got to make a different avatar, and, sort of, the closest it came, I don't know, I think on High Fidelity, we used to be able to download our avatar, but it was too complex to export it anywhere else. So, anyway, I'm rambling. Right.
No.
James, Tosha, any other issues to raise before we do the obligatory wrap? Actually, I'm amazed we've gone on so long today.
No, save for thanking Marcus very much for his contributions, which I found very, very interesting. And if you don't mind, I would very much love to befriend you in World.
Absolutely.
It's like we can go explore Blender together as if it's another world, Marcus, you would know this, and Tosha maybe. Does
no, that way maybe we can exchange sometimes some things, or I can come nosing around wherever you have built things and look what you're doing, because I think that's the most interesting thing of that all. Because I stay at the region where I'm building, and I don't see nobody and nothing else, But if I know somebody does interesting things, I come out to see, and so please let me.
Do you download Blender from what's it called? Is it Steam or something? That where you can see your friends online.
It actually is on Steam, but they don't have the Steam overlay integration or anything like that.
No, but if I'm playing, I don't know what, I never go in there much actually. That massive open world thing, and if I'm in that, I can see on the friends list on Steam there's James because he goes in there. Well, I can't remember the name of it now, but no, I mean what I was going to ask is when I'm trying to promote Second Life and compare it to all these new worlds that have Unity and Mesh and everything else. Some of them are actually worlds you inhabit and change, but other than Second Life, OpenSim is the only platform still where you can literally meet in real time with people. I can res an object. I can give permission to somebody else in the same place to texture it. I can give somebody else permission to manipulate it. We can build totally together. The same thing, and I'm just wondering if something like Blender allows two people to log into the same project.
Yeah, I mean, not out of the box, but there are add-ons and stuff that allow for collaboration. Absolutely.
Right.
Well, anyways, what you can always do, what I used to do with Lumiere, or later on with Siberia also, we just shared, or with you guys, we just shared, in that case was what you call it in Discord, and with the others I would do in practically the same in Skype, and then you can share the screens, and you cannot directly work in there, unless you have an add-on for it, but you can just always see what the other one is doing and following it, and then trying it on your own, and on the screen sharing and on Skype is a little easier than on Discord,
Yeah, I'd say that's a great way to learn from other people.
Yeah,
yeah.
I used to screen share a lot of the time.
That's how I started, when I started with Lumiere, because I was really not at all in favor of Blender, because when you build Inworld, you can have visitors, you can discuss with others, you can say, well, help me with this or help me with that. And if you want to, you can have people around. But in Blender, you're always refined at home to your own desk, and you don't see and hear anybody else. And with a ready-made product, you can come on the market only, or on the market, as would say. And so that's why we started to do this all by Skype.
Yeah.
And
I'm just trying to remember, actually, because Pet Love is here. Pet Love, long before James took over this, Pet Love used to film our shows, including, I think, Metaverse in Week in Review. But I think that was just us with webcams and people popping in. But we did that via Skype. And I remember, I think it was Dizzy Banjo, a musician. The first time he came on, and instead of being on webcam, because it was all real people in those days, right? He was the first one to come in and screencast his Second Life avatar from a location. And then suddenly everybody was doing it. So it was all on Skype, but just as I would show videos and then we go to our faces and chat, then would have I don't know. It was in the days when there were lots of prototype metaverses around, so one of us would be in Twinity, another would be in Second Life, another would be in the version of OpenSim that was there. And you just switch screen shares in Skype, and it would look like you're just having a sort of virtual with, an avatar conversation instead of a real one. So, yeah, it's so many different tools for different purposes, basically. But Blender certainly seems to be one that fulfills. It's certainly a tool for a lot of different purposes, from what I've seen. Pet Love, any closing thoughts from you?
No, I'm just soaking it up. I've learned so much today. It's really been very interesting. Yeah, thank you all.
And also, well, of course, in your case, maybe I don't know whether you've got access to other tutorials or anything, but those bargained basement ones at the moment were great. James, any other thoughts and comments, by the way? Have we had much from YouTube chat?
No, YouTube settled down quite a bit, but I was wondering, I don't know if we actually got Pet Love to answer what drew her to Blender in the first place. I know I was looking for hair and Tosha in architecture, but I don't know if she got a chance to talk about that.
Final words. Pet, come on.
Pet Love Pet Shop just wanted to have a pet shop with pets. That's why I came into Second Life. I was going to create amazing, unique creatures, and they'd be pets, and I could have a small business. I was looking for a certain level of small business income. That's what brought me to Second Life. And I took one look at Blender, like the day after I looked at the Second Life interface. And I knew it would be a while.
Yeah.
And it's turned into a long while, but I've learned a lot of other things. So.
Well, I think really making creatures or making animals is one of the hardest things, because it's not enough with the forms of them that you come up with. It's with the fur and the skin and all these things.
They walk, everything.
But the animation,
Yes.
because if you have a dog that has not the right animations, it looks just stupid,
Yes.
It'll walk like a snail.
Yeah. And
I love my pussycat. I mean, it just feels right. I channel it all the while. But my late partner, of course, in Second Life, they had all these breedable things. She had cats, and you put two cats together and you feed them, and if they had a good meal, they pop out a new cat, but it's a completely different coat, So, and sometimes you get a real rare combination, and you can sell it for a lot of money, and other times it's just like a tuppenny cat.
Well, but I must say, Pet Love, I think it's been worth it that you're here only for me to get to know you.
Thank you, Tasha. Same to you. That's one of the best things about the virtual world. You really meet some great people, and it doesn't matter where you are, you're here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
Thank you.
how long before we transfer this show to a Blender review?
Inworld review all mixed up.
Right.
Well, actually, that's the ideal. Having everything mixed up, and it should be a proper mix
Coherent.
up.
Yeah.
Not lots of walled gardens jumping between them, but a mesh where the virtual is the world, sort of. Right. Anyway, it's so easy to carry on talking when not.
Isn't it though?
I've had final thoughts from James. Final thoughts from Bet. Any final thoughts from you, with our guest this week, Marcus? Anything else to bring to mind while you're here, other than Mesh as well, for that matter?
I mean, the biggest thing I would say about Blender is it can be awfully intimidating at first. But if you really do have an interest and a passion in creating, something of your own in Blender, it's just a matter of, take your time.
Yeah.
You're not gonna make your, an entire pet shop in one day. You're just not. So
Yeah.
just take your time and have fun with it. And there's like we've so many of us have said up here, there's so many resources out there. And
So
it can
true.
take a little bit to filter through, but there are some wonderful ones out there. Those tutorials that Mal showed you, there's CG Cookie. They're excellent teachers who are always up to date with the latest version of Blender. Just I would say just don't let it scare you and just do it and make mistakes. Be willing to make lots and lots of mistakes.
Yeah.
No problem.
That is so true of everything. You learn more by your mistakes than the frustration of not getting it right.
Oh, I got.
Okay, Marcus, I've just had another thought that James may know this too. I noticed on the grapevine, I don't know, OSCC, where you work in the background there along with James's. In fact, the dates have been announced for that, haven't they?
I believe so. I'm not the date guy, but yes, the train is underway. So
right, it's usually the first or second week of December, isn't it? So
right, this year, my understanding is that it will be on the 7th and 8th of December.
Oh, right.
And if it hasn't been announced yet, it will very soon. We will be announcing a call for proposals for people who would like to present at OSCC.
Usual sort of thing. Okay, well, we'll look out for that and let our audience know when that comes round. So, I think we're all done. Anybody? I didn't get a final word in. I can't remember now. Been going round everybody.
I think it's your turn, Mal.
Oh, I know. Do final comments. I just rabbit on and talk myself out of it. Okay, everybody. So I think that's a wrap for this week. So I wish everybody a very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening, and indeed a good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. Yeah. And as I said, it's a wrap. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Thank you, baby. I forgot the thank yous. Thank you to James Atlloud.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Mal, I had to unmute, so I was prepping the outro, right?
All right, I was so busy talking, I forgot that. Thank you, of course, to my co-host Tosha Ryran.
Oh, it was a pleasure, really.
Thanks to Pet Shop for stepping in.
Anytime.
And thanks to, I guess, our special guest for this week, Marcus Llewellyn. Thank you, Marcus.
Oh, not that special, but thank you. And it was really nice to meet you, Tosha.
Yeah, I think so too.
So this time, it really is a wrap. We'll see you next week.